Jeff. I'm filling in. I know you guys are looking forward to seeing Jerry. Jerry's on a much needed break, and we all miss him, and he's doing very well. So, I wanted to continue the theme of Jerry's Facebook Lives, which are ceremony stories. And, at Rythmia, we offer a lot of different modalities in a week-long program to help you get what we call your miracle. And your miracle is the ability to see who you've become, merge back with your true self or your soul, and heal all the past emotional trauma and heal your heart in a way that's real and authentic and move forward in a productive manner. That's what we call getting your miracle. And so in our program, we have 4 ayahuasca sessions in the evenings of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And what we do in these sessions is we have a lot of staff, we have shamans, we have a lot of medical personnel around, and we also have cleared everybody to be in there appropriately health-wise. And what we do is we help the guests feel safe and be able to go deep in their process to heal a variety of things that they came here to work on. Aside from those 3 intentions, which are the umbrella structure of what we're teaching the guests to follow, we have people that come here with a lot of anxiety, with a lot of history of depression, a history of trauma, a history of addiction in the past. And they're here to get past all that stuff and to feel connected and grounded and healed. So one thing I want to talk about in the ceremonies, and they call it ayahuasca ceremonies because it's an indigenous tradition from South America, and the Latin America in general has shamans and curanderos that have provided this plant-based drink for thousands of years. And so we're using and sitting with this modality in a way that can help more people, because traveling into the Amazon is not something everyone can do. However, respecting that process and holding that medicine, we call it medicine, but it's a plant-based remedy, holding it sacred is very important. And there's ways to handle the medicine in a way that's respectful and honors the process. And we do that here at Rythmia. So one thing that happens in these ayahuasca sessions and the ceremonies is that people purge. And what is that? That's often the first thing that people wonder about. And like, they get a little nervous about it. Like, I don't want to throw up, is that what it is? And they see pictures of ayahuasca sessions and there's buckets and there's things like that. And it's like, well, the way I explain it is, about half of our guests during the week will throw up at least one time. And what does that mean? Well, a purge is a psychosomatic response to something that you're working on. So for example, if I have a lot of anxiety in my life and I want to get rid of it, but I'm always just holding on to anxiety because I don't really know how to let it go, and I don't know how to talk about it, and I don't know how to process it, and I don't know how to, who knows? I don't know how to do anything with my anxiety. What I do is I hold it in, I hold it in, I hold it in my whole life. I've been doing this since I was a little kid. And eventually there's physical symptoms that start to show up that are based on me holding my anxiety. So on the lower end of the spectrum, we can have things like irritable bowel syndrome or lower back pain. Or we could have on the higher end of the spectrum, autoimmune disorders or cancers or things like that. And what I mean by that is that, of course, there's a biological, physical component to all those conditions, but there's often also an emotional component. So stress can manifest in lots of different ways physically. So in order to get rid of the stress that you're holding in your body, the ayahuasca goes into these regions of your body and it helps shake them loose, is what I like to say. And what happens when you purge, you throw up, or there's other ways to purge, not only throwing up, but also going to the bathroom, sweating, also kind of like twitching. There's like twitches, people sometimes crying, even laughing. And my favorite purge, yawning. There's these deep yawns that people will do. And that's the release of this emotional process. That's what's happening. So a purge is very therapeutically beneficial because you're releasing emotion. So in the ceremonies, there's a lot of purging going on. And people always say, well, am I going to vomit on myself? Am I going to go to the bathroom on myself? Well, this is the thing. It's very rare that happens. It's very rare. It's happened before, but it's very rare because you have enough wits about you that you can get up and walk to the bathroom. Now, if you feel a little shaky or a little unstable, there's a lot of staff here at Rythmia to help you get to the bathroom. And we have a lot of bathrooms right around the area where we serve the ayahuasca. So, people feel going into a session that, I've never done this before. I'm nervous. I don't know what to expect. Well, the way I like to explain it is it's like a lucid dream. It's like, when you have those dreams that you wake up from them and you're like, wow, that was actually meaningful, or there was something insightful about that dream. I want to write it down. I want to journal it. It was meaningful to me. There's those kinds of dreams. And then there's dreams that you have that are sort of nonsensical, that are just your brain processing just different things that you've held on to. And, your brain's still active and stuff at night, of course. And so there's like kind of things that are really not maybe necessarily significant. So the dreams that are significant, that you feel are more meaningful, that is what I believe similar to an ayahuasca session, because the active ingredient in ayahuasca is dimethyltryptamine, which is DMT. That's a natural substance that all living things have in them to some degree. Some things have more DMT than others. Like all mammals have DMT. Humans have DMT in us already. We have it in the lining of our lungs. We also have it behind our eyes and the sockets. Some people theorize that it's produced and comes from the pineal gland. There's no data to actually confirm that. They have confirmed that in rat studies. And so that's valid in rat studies. So they've made some assumptions about humans. And what happens with DMT, and the reason why we have DMT, is kind of unknown to science. But there's some good theories out there. There's a lot of books about it. They call it the God molecule, the shamans do. And it's the vine of ayahuasca, which is this big vine that grows in the jungle. They call that the vine of the dead. That sounds a little ominous, right? But it's not meant to be ominous or scary. It's because it connects the spirit world to the physical material world. And so what's happening when naturally you release DMT in 2 or 3 different times in your life. Number one, when you're being born. So I have a newborn. So my daughter, who was recently born, she has a lot of DMT flowing in her body. And what do you usually think of newborn babies? I don't know about you, but I look at them and they're angels, and they're very connected energetically, and they make you feel love. And there's these little special people, right? Like babies are beautiful, perfect little beings. And so babies, when they're born, have DMT flowing through their body. It's a transitional molecule that helps us connect. And then it's also released in our bloodstream naturally when we die. And so I don't know if you've ever been around anybody when they're passing. Like I was around my dad when he passed. I was right there with him. It was a sad but beautiful thing, because he was very ill and it was time for him to go. And when he was passing, he was talking to us, and he was saying things like, I see my dad, which is my grandpa who had passed, obviously. I see his mom, which is my grandma who had passed. I see he's like, I see my dog. He's seeing things. Now, of course, you could chalk that up to, it's just his subconscious and it's his memories coming out. Maybe, yeah, maybe, I don't know. But when you're passing and dying, there is DMT that's released, and it helps in the transition from one plane to another, is the theory. Another time when DMT is released is during lucid dreams. And so those dreams that are impactful and seem meaningful to you likely have a higher level of DMT in your natural bloodstream in your body that's flowing. So when you take ayahuasca into your body and you sit with the process and the sacred responsibility of what it entails for you and honoring it, and you drink it, you're connecting with those higher spiritual planes. Again, that's what the shamans believe. Now, I believe that, and I also believe in the scientific side of it from the research that's been done in the last couple of years. And there's a lot of really good journal articles out there that show that ayahuasca and the DMT component help with different health issues, autoimmune disorders. They also help with different cancers, is what they're showing. And also, and again, a lot of it's speculative and theory based, but there's really promising data out there that show that it helps with a lot of health related issues. And as far as connecting with yourself, what happens is if you enhance the level of DMT in your body, then your natural DMT starts flowing, and then you're connected and you can have insight. And what I explain to the guests when they're here is that, I believe in the duality of humans. So I believe that we have a physical self, that we have a spiritual self. That's my belief. And the spiritual self is vibrating at a perfectly in sync frequency with everything in the universe and godly, or in the world, or nature, or whatever you want to call it. I believe that our spiritual self is the true us. It's the authentic, true, perfect self. Now, our physical self is a different story. Our physical self has imperfections, biases, error. We might eat or drink things that are not healthy for us. I'll have an energy drink sometimes, and I know that's bad for me. I shouldn't do it. I'm trying not to. So like we have our things, right, that we do that maybe aren't the best for our physical body, right? And I grew up in Los Angeles, so a lot of smog in LA, like breathing it in. There's all these different health things, yeah? So what happens is our physical self is vibrating at a lower frequency than our spiritual self. So when you prepare and come to Rythmia, we send you some information on how to prepare and how to get your physical self on board with your spiritual self. And what that is, it's a list of foods that are recommended by the shamans. It's called the dieta. It's a way to eat that helps your body get in line with the spiritual self and prepare for the ayahuasca sessions. Also, behaviorally, it tells you what to do behaviorally. Like don't do any bunch of crazy behaviors. Like try to meditate if you can. Try to be physically fit. Do things that are healthy for your body. And in that preparation, your physical body starts to vibrate at a higher frequency. And then when you get here to Rythmia, you notice right away when you get off the shuttle on our property, this is a special place. This is in a beautiful area of Costa Rica, and it's in the province of Guanacaste. And Guanacaste is parts of it, and we're in the part of it. It's called a blue zone. And a blue zone is a very healthy region of the world. There's only a handful of blue zones in the world. And they're not defined only by the environment. They're also defined by the human rights issues that exist that are good. They also are defined by the family structure that exists. Also the diet of the people that live in the blue zone. Also, if they walk more than drive, and if they're mobile and active, things like that. Also, how they treat their elders and how they treat their children and how women are treated. And so all of that contributes to a blue zone's vibe. And so it's not just that we're in an equatorial line that's magnetic with the center of the earth and all that. I mean, that's part of it. But it's also, again, very green zones. Here in Costa Rica, a lot of oxygen from the plants and trees. There's all these different conditions that create a blue zone. So you're in that blue zone when you get here. And so you automatically feel grounded and connected to yourself and to the earth. And so then right away, we get you in a breathwork session that first evening that you're here. And people check in on a Saturday or a Sunday every week. And it's a week-long program. So you start off with breathwork. And right off the bat, you're feeling this connection. And we're trying to get you in sync with your true spiritual self. And then Monday, we have classes that prepare you for the ayahuasca sessions. So we give you a lot of training, a lot of counseling on how to do it, on what to expect. And you get a tour of the grounds, and you have a very nice room. There's AC. That's an unheard of thing in most ayahuasca places in the world. AC is not really, they're very rustic, most places, but Rythmia is a resort. Go on our website and check it out. Like we bought a hotel, and we converted it, spent a lot of money and converted it into an ayahuasca retreat with other modalities that we offer. That our program, we call it the Rythmia Way. It involves ayahuasca, breath work, hydrocolonic cleanses, yoga, meditation, super healthy food, body work, massage, and all kinds of cool stuff like that. There's all kinds of things happening here. We also have guest speakers that come. So what happens when you're here is that your physical body is starting to connect with your spiritual self. And then when you get into that first night with ayahuasca in the ceremony, you drink it. And one of the shamans, my favorite shaman, I like them all, but one of my favorites is Mitra. And Mitra says, you're taking a cup of nature into your body when you drink ayahuasca. I love that analogy because it's true. And so nature is vibrating at the same frequency as your spiritual self. Nature and your spiritual self are in tune. It's our physical self that's not always in tune. So when you drink ayahuasca, it brings your physical self in tune with your spiritual self. And then you're connected. And then you can see through your spiritual eyes, feel through your spiritual you. You can really see the authentic self. And then all these things that were like holding you back, like, that breakup that you had with your ex or this job that you really don't maybe like and you want to do something different, or like your parents and like you're still holding some grudge against your parents and now you're in your 50s. It's like all of that goes away. Trust me, all of that just melts away, because what's really important is that you are connected to yourself and that you're grounded in who you really are as a person. So ayahuasca in the ceremonies helps you really be your authentic you. And so it's kind of funny, like in Los Angeles, where I'm from, there's a lot of people that drink ayahuasca, like in somebody's house. And by the way, it's illegal in the United States, just FYI. Now, there's exceptions for native lands, and there's some places that are not regulated that are hard to get to. And, there's some places around that some are really good. But the reason why going to somebody's living room, in Topanga Canyon, it can be okay. But the reason why I'm not a fan of that is because, first of all, you don't know who else is showing up there. First of all, you don't know who the other people are at all. Also, how vetted were you if you went to that place? Like, just show up and pay $100 and drink some ayahuasca? I mean, that's not a very good vetting process, because there are a lot of medical contraindications. There's psychiatric contraindications. There's health-related contraindications. There's med and psychotropic medication contraindication. There's a lot of things that prevent people from drinking ayahuasca in a safe manner. So if you're offered to go drink ayahuasca and they just say, yeah, just show up and give us $100 and here you go, you should be very leery of that, because you don't know how people are going to respond, and it can be dangerous. Also, you're vulnerable when you're drinking ayahuasca. You're vulnerable because you're connecting with yourself, you're going deep, things are surfacing. What if you're around a bunch of people that are don't have your best interests at heart, right? That's not a good combination. There's a lot of abuse that goes on out in the world with ayahuasca and any plant-based medicine from so-called shamans and or just people that provide it, that it's not a safe place. So Rythmia, we have a ton of staff. We vet every single guest that comes here. You have to go through a medical intake process over the phone before you even can book your stay here. And then when you're here, you go through a triage, and there's a medical interview. There's nursing notes that we take. We open a chart on you. There's all kinds of stuff that we do that help you feel safe and help us know that you're appropriate for here. We turn away a lot of people every day that want to come here because they're just not ready or they're medically contraindicated. So in the sessions of ayahuasca, what is happening then is you are able to let go of all the things that are not serving you. You're letting go and you're shedding sort of baggage that, has been holding you back. Our whole lives, we go through experiences and we have trauma and we have misunderstandings and we make errors and we do things that hurt other people sometimes. But, this journey and this path that led you to where you're at now has meaning. There's significance in it. And if you're going to look at it and say, well, I regret my whole life, I don't know why I'm even, doing these things. It's time to reevaluate your life. It's time to get back on track with who you are as a person, what you're here to do, who are you being called to be, and what are you being called to do. You got to forgive the parts of yourself that you thought were unforgivable. You got to let yourself be healed. You got to have peace. You got to get to a place where you have personal sovereignty, where you can make decisions for yourself, unbiased decisions, and unhindered by manipulation and tactics. Out in the world, we know if you're unplugged and dissociated, you're a target. You're a target for marketing. You're a target for governments to control you. You're a target for big corporations and pharmaceuticals and industry and all this stuff. And all those things have parts that are good to them, of course. But if you are so unplugged from yourself and dissociated, you can be easily controlled and manipulated. So we don't want you to be in that state. We want you to be connected and plugged into yourself. Now, some of you are thinking, that sounds scary to me, to be connected. Yeah, well, it is a little bit, because you're no longer in denial about who you are and what's going on around you. But I can tell you with confidence that when you're connected to yourself, you gain a strength that you haven't experienced in a very long time. And that strength is the free will to make your own decisions in ways that benefit you and the empowerment to do so. We all have things that we have to face, all struggles and challenges and difficulties. But being dissociated going through that is just like being numb, and it's not benefiting you. And you're probably making unwise decisions. So being connected and plugged into yourself and then making these decisions and moving forward in a way that's empowered is a much, much healthier way to go. So at Rythmia, that's what we're doing. We're helping you plug in and going through these ceremonies where you're purging out what's not serving you. You're connecting with yourself. You're healing all of that past baggage and trauma, and you're getting confidence in who you are. I see it every single week. Every week we have new guests come from all over the world. And these people that come are changed, and they're back to their true self that they've lost over the decades ago. And they all say that pretty much the same thing. This is the week that changed my life. So if you're ready for a week that will change your life and give you back to you, look us up on the internet, follow the links in this video, and come down to Costa Rica. We'd love to meet you and see you and have you go through the Rythmia Way program. Thanks for watching.